Hello, welcome to the ROI of Peace podcast. Friends, I'm so excited you're here. I'm sending you lots of hugs and loves all over the world. I love you guys. Um, when I so I grew up part in California and part in Oregon. I consider Portland, Oregon, my home. I consider myself inside a Northwest girly because I just love trees. I love trees so much. There's so many good trees, so many things. Where we live in Dallas, on the home that we bought, one of the reasons we bought it because it had so many huge trees, and it's been really sad because we had to take out 3 huge trees due to them dying. So I did cry. Actually, it was really, really sad. So we tried to hold on to them, but anyway, it would have been bad because, we have storms here, and if you get a dead tree and it crushes your roof, not a good sign. So anyway, when I was living in California, and actually throughout my whole life until I got to college, I was very much an introvert. I was had very little confidence in myself. In the 7th grade, I got really, really sick. I got sick actually with a chicken pox, which is so random. And then I got this infection. I was hospitalized. Basically, I missed my whole 7th grade. The second semester of my 7th grade year, my teachers ended up passing me. I think they felt bad for me. Anyways, I had to have physical therapy. I mean, the whole thing was a mess. And so that experience made me feel even less confident about myself. And just as you're growing up, it was just hard. And this is during a time when there was just magazines and all these cute little people, and I just didn't feel like that at all. I think most people feel that way in their teenage years, but around college, I had decided, I was like, this college, I get to be a different person. I get to be what I really feel like in the inside and unleash that. The first semester of college, I ended up going to the summer term, which was such a great little toe dip into what college was all about. And it was a smaller setting. I went to a college in Idaho. It was a small setting, and especially in the summer was small. And it was so fun because we got to be outdoors a lot, and it was just beautiful. And we would go to the sand dunes and have outings. And I started to realize, actually, I have some confidence in who I am. And if I just believe in myself, believe in who I am, and just have fun, that I'll have a good time. And that thought of just have fun, just be myself, be authentic, use my voice, really has just changed everything. So that first semester of college, the fall semester, we got some new roommates, and I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to have fun. I'm just going to enjoy this. I did a little experiment in the summer. I can do more. I can be more myself, and I can have more of a voice, and I can be more authentic to what I felt inside. And as I was doing that, my roommates, they had 2 of them were dating these 2 guys. And so they would have come over to the place, our apartment, and hang out. And I was just, whatever, and just have fun and stuff like that. And they were like, "Oh my gosh, you're so fun. Let's set you up with one of our roommates." And so I was like, "Okay, sure, whatever, And I was just like, just have fun. I guess it's so funny because now that I'm saying this, I realize how much I lean into fun now as a method of just enjoying life and practicing and playing with things, whether it's business or personal life, Okay, that's really crazy. So 2 of my roommate's boyfriends set me and Scott up. That's who the guy was. My now husband of almost 30 years. And I just think back to that time when I met Scott, and I still remember him coming to the door of my apartment. I remember what he was wearing. I remember how cold it was because it was Idaho in November, and I just remember the feelings of that, and just being like, don't overthink it, just have a good time. You know what? We don't know where this is going, and we're just, wouldn't it be fun if this worked out? But it would be fun if it didn't, that type of thing. Scott and I got married and found my best friend for life, So this flipped the switch in my mind that my voice had purpose and my voice needed some space, and people were not judging me. Really helped me to to embrace the life that I really, really wanted and the relationship that I really, really wanted. I am so excited for you to jump into this conversation because we dive into this even more, that your voice matters, that your presence matters. It doesn't matter what you're saying or what you're doing or who you're being, as long as you're tapping into your true, authentic self, having fun, supporting yourself in your journey through your voice. And Marta Spirk is a speaking coach. She's a TEDx speaker, a best-selling author, and a professional singer who helps women entrepreneurs turn their story into a powerful revenue-generating signature talk. And we talk through her journey of how she was able to unleash her voice and to support herself. She had triplets. And we talk about how that was part of who she is now and how that really gave her the career that she's doing now, teaching other women to have a voice, advocate for themselves. So I'm so excited for you to jump into this episode. We'll do a piece visualization from my app, and you can totally spend more time with me, and the link is in the comments. I'm so excited that we get to connect here, and I can't wait for you to meet Marta. See you inside the episode. Take a breath. You've got this. Hey, Marta, welcome to the ROI of Peace podcast. I'm so excited you're here.
I'm so excited too. Let's do this.
Yes. All right. Well, everybody, we all know what we do before we dive in. We play a little game called Pick Your Piece. And this is from my app. And this is a page in the app where it's about the interferers. Now, interferers are sabotaging patterns that we all do, and we all have certain sabotaging patterns that we do over and over again that stunt our success and our peace in the journey. And so today you're going to choose a randomly assigned a number between 1 and 12, because there's 12 interferers, and you're going to choose a random number, and I will do the visualization story that goes with that interfere to reset us, give us some more peace, and get us ready for the day.
I'll pick 3.
3?
Yes.
Okay. That is the self-silencer. Okay, so let me tell you what that is. Okay, so the self-silencer keeps her truth hidden, quiets herself, stays safe, and keeps the peace. But really, that's a lie, because our voices matter. Our voices are needed here, and they're part of how we have success and how we have joy. So I'm so excited you chose that one. That is a super good one. So, okay, everybody listening, all our friends, thank you for being here with us. If you're in a seated position, you can close down your eyes. Marta, you can close down your eyes, and we'll let the story begin. In these few minutes, you're investing in peace, and that investment starts working right now. There once was a whale whose voice could fill the sea. Her song was deep and shimmering, a melody that rolled through coral reefs and kissed the edges of the distant shores. Every creature in the ocean recognized her sound. It carried peace, connection, belonging. But one season, the ocean grew noisy. Engines, storms, voices, 1,000 sounds crashed over hers. Each time she sang, she felt smaller. The sea didn't echo her anymore. Her notes got lost in the chaos. So one day she stopped. She sank deeper and deeper into the quiet. It felt safer not to sing, easier to disappear than to be unheard. At first, the silence brought relief, but slowly it became heavy. She felt the ache of swallowed songs, whole symphonies she had never released. Truth that pressed tight to her chest. She forgot what her own voice even sounded like. Time passed, the sea grew colder. Still, she stayed quiet until one evening, in the far distance, she heard something faint. A single trembling note. Another whale was singing into the dark. That sound pierced her stillness. Not loud, but honest. It cracked something open inside of her. Without even thinking, she drew a breath so deep it trembled throughout her entire body, and then she sang. At first, her voice quivered, but as the sound moved through her, it grew fuller, richer, freer. The ocean caught her tone and carried it wide. Another whale answered. The sea responded. The silence broke, not with chaos, but with harmony. And then she remembered she was never meant to stay quiet to stay safe. Her voice was how she found herself. Her song was how the world remembered peace. What truths or feelings have you been swallowing to keep others comfortable? What might it sound like to let your authentic voice rise again, even softly? You can take a deep breath, exhale, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes. All right. Marta, what were you thinking or feeling during that visualization story?
Oh gosh, I feel like this is so relevant because my whole life is about voice and using your voice. As a singer, as a
Yes.
speaking coach, it's encouraging women to use their voices because that's the pull that I felt, especially after I had kids, is because for the longest time I would relay other people's messages. And then after having kids is when I was like, you know what? This is the divisor of waters. I am going to be sharing my message now and my voice. So this is just a confirmation and also encouragement for me to keep going in different ways because I'm already, an advocate for sharing the voice, but there are pieces that I don't share or that I feel hesitant or that I feel like, maybe not here. So this is a good confirmation of, yeah, if you're feeling the pull, it's because you're meant to do it.
Yes, if you're feeling that inside of here, it's meant to share and it's meant to express. And it's part of the journey that we're here. And I think that sabotaging character of don't speak about that or shush yourself, that hits us all. And we all have to be reminded that our voice is important, that it has room in the space that we're at for us to share and for us to nurture that. And it says a lot too when we tell ourselves not to speak, not to share.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So take us back with you mentioned your kids.
Mhm.
So take us back. You have triplets, which I was telling you before we started recording. I was like, hero right there. Like I have 4 kids, but I had them one at a time. And I can only imagine having 3. So take us way back before the triplets. Who
Yeah.
were you? What did your life look like? Tell us your
Yeah,
story.
absolutely. I'm from Brazil, originally born and raised, and from a young age, very, very interested, passionate, slightly obsessed, or very much obsessed with the English language and the American culture because of movies, music. But I really took it to the next level. Like my friends would call me the little American and make fun of me for not being patriotic enough, whatever. But then they would come to me with questions and to help for, prepare for tests. So I started tutoring when I was 14 and actually getting paid for it. And that was already kind of like the career path. I'm going to be a teacher. That's what I'm good at. I went to college for translation. So I started diving into translation, interpretation. I learned French in the process. So I speak French, Portuguese, and English, a little bit of Spanish, not officially, but because it's so similar to Portuguese, I can dabble. And that's what I did for the longest time. Like that was my entire life, pretty much for 10 years. I languages were the thing. And my mom's a pastor in Brazil. So that was how the connection with America became even stronger for me was to actually physically get to visit several times because she started hosting American ministers in Brazil. We started coming to conferences in America, and that's how I met my husband. He's American. I met him in church. We dated long distance for 5 years. And eventually it's like we were either going to be together in the same country or not. So we got married when I was 23 and I moved to America and he was living in Denver at the time. And that's where we've been. And I got a master's in linguistics. Like everything was languages. My entire life was voice, like using your voice, understanding intertextuality and cultures, all the things. And then we moved back to Brazil after I graduated because my parents were like, "Oh, you've been away for almost 3 years. It's time to come back, Try it out. Try living down here for a while." And that's when I was like, "All right, I want to start a family." We've been married for 3 years and I was now close to my parents again, so it felt like the right time, but I was not prepared for the surprise of hearing I was pregnant with triplets. We did go through a fertility treatment, like first stage where you do hormonal stimulation to stimulate
Okay.
essentially ovulation because my cycles were irregular. And within 2 weeks of starting that process, I got pregnant and it was triplets right off the bat. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's crazy.
Mm.
Were you,
I
yeah, so shocked and surprised?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. So when we started because I was doing it on my own, just naturally, whatever, for a year after getting off the pill, and nothing was happening. And I had a friend that was in her 40s that went to the specialist and she got pregnant pretty quickly doing the same system with one child. So I was like, oh, this is great. I mean, if it worked out for her, I'll go get
Yes.
tested. This guy clearly knows what he's doing. And that's when it came about that I had irregular cycles, PCOS, all the things. And then he was like, the first course of action, since you are the problem, since it's been determined that what's off, why it's not happening,
Yes.
um, is to do this hormonal stimulation. Now there is a chance of twins because we're stimulating, which means there could be, more than one. So I was like, all good, I'm up for the challenge. And then it was not two, it was three. And right off the bat, so I went for my first ultrasound when I was 5 weeks pregnant, and there were already three gestational sacs.
My goodness.
It was wild. And I went to that appointment by
Wow.
myself because we had been going on and off because it was a close, follow up of it. Are the eggs growing? Now it's the
Yes.
time. Because with this whole process, you have to take a different medication to then ovulate, meaning release the eggs,
Oh,
following closely to see, are they growing? Is this stimulation? So it's like, oh, on this
yes.
ovary, there's a few eggs that are promising. On this other ovary, all through ultrasound. So I was going to the office quite frequently. And then it's like, all right, this is the day you're going to take this medication. And then you have to have scheduled intercourse for 2 days
Yes.
and you have to lay there and all the things. I did all the things.
Yes.
So then when it was like, when I did the P test and it was confirmed that I was pregnant, I also did a blood test and it was confirmed that I was pregnant. It's like, all right, schedule your first ultrasound. And at that time, my husband couldn't make it. I was like, it's all good. I've been doing this. I got this.
Yeah.
I already know I'm pregnant. We're just
Yeah.
making sure everything's okay. And then he's like, well, there are three. So I left crying because then immediately the
Yes.
doctor was like, well, you're probably not going to carry through term and you're a very
Yes.
small person. So it's probably going to be
Yes.
even less. Like, and I know the doctor was just matter of fact, but to me, that was
Yeah.
like, well what, because I was, my image of the whole thing with my first pregnancy was I want to have a natural delivery, potentially even water. I don't know. I had all these plans, I'm going to
Yes.
breastfeed for however long. And literally all of that bubble was popped in a split second. And then calling my husband right afterwards. And then it was wild. I want to say that the first trimester was definitely the hardest mindset wise. Obviously, the physical challenges increased as I got huger, but mindset wise, it was tough those first 3 months.
Yeah. And how did you get through that? Because I know, like, have each, so I have, 4 kids. And the first one, I was like, okay, let's do this.
Yeah.
And then with each kid, I had even more anxiety because I knew, like, I was older, I was wiser, I knew what could go wrong. I knew how awful some moments were, and all these things. And it was a real big mindset game that I didn't even play because I didn't even know what to do. Like, how did you, with all that panic of what could happen, what your life would look like, and different things, how did you handle?
So I was in denial for a little bit there because I had already started a process of going with an OBGYN by indication of a friend that had had a water birth. So I had already kind of made plans with that person once I found out I was pregnant because there was a little bit of a delay until I found out it was 3 weeks until I was like, all right, let's get the ultrasound. So I started searching for other doctors that would be okay with entertaining the idea of a natural delivery for triplets. And then another doctor recommended that I had a procedure, which is I forget what the name is. I think it's cerclage. I don't know. It's stitches in your cervix, essentially to prevent preterm labor, and that essentially means you're going to have a C-section because there's no way.
Oh,
And so I was in denial a little bit there. I was like, I'm not going to get this. Let's, hold on until we
yes.
can. And then sure enough, as I started getting bigger, the cervix starts opening up, which means there is a risk for preterm labor and we don't want that. So that's why it was so hard because I was still holding on to the idea that I could control it, you know?
Yes.
And then there was a moment where it was like, Marta, just surrender to this. It's fine. Now the focus is as long as they're healthy. So then that's when my
Yes.
mindset shifted. Like I was holding on to dear life, like white knuckling the whole thing
Yeah.
until, and my husband even said, he was like, that was hard for me because I wanted to support you and what you were going for, but we couldn't ignore what the professionals were saying too. So I feel bad for him, but I'm glad he was really
Yes.
supportive because it's my body, like it was
Yes.
rough. It was rough, rough, rough. So then once I was like, all right, this is, it's going to be a scheduled C-section. It's all good. Now I just need to be healthy. That's when I started transitioning into, I want to have the best thoughts and the best attitude
Mm,
because I want to pass this on to my kids. Whatever insecurities and fears that I have, they need to take a back seat right now because they are the priority. So that's what
yes.
I focused on for the remainder of the pregnancy was I need to take this as long as I can, especially when they're saying I'm small and it's a given that it's not going to go full term.
Yes.
So that was my mindset and I feel like that really really helped me. Obviously still had some bumps in the road, but the delivery went really smoothly. They did have to stay in NICU, which that was another story of devastation and heartbreak because I wanted to bring them
Yes.
home. It wasn't smooth sailing after that, but I feel like my mindset
Yes.
really helped with the calmness piece.
And I think it is, yeah, I think it is, we talk about surrendering to these hard challenges. And I think that's like there's these phases of like when we're going through a hard thing, we're like positivity, blah blah blah, and then when the positivity runs out and we're like we're still we're devastated and grieving over what we thought this would go or how long it's been going on.
Yeah.
And I think that there's this other phase of getting to the surrender part, like somehow this is not going how I want it to go, but
Ooh,
I know it will all work out. And that phrase, it will all work out, doesn't mean it's going to work out how we thought it's going to
fun.
work out. It is so much different.
Yeah.
But sometimes what we can't see is so much better
Mhm.
than what we think is right.
Yeah.
How did you, so there's one thing, you're going through pregnancy and you
Mhm.
deliver the triplets. It's having triplets.
Mm.
That is, I cannot even imagine. I'm like, girl, how did you do that? And not lose yourself? Or did you? Do you know?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, with what you started with, my I picked 3 because, triplets and I just feel like it's a magic number. I really believe that they helped me reclaim, not even really reclaim, but really connect with myself at the level that I'm supposed to as a human being. Like had I not had them, had I not had this intense experience, it wouldn't have happened. Like I needed this. I needed this to really unleash this voice, this story. So in terms of how I did it, I mean, there were so many other pieces that were super hard that I feel like contributed to me making the decision of going down the route of having the business that I have right now and doing what I do right now. So they were born in Brazil and we moved back to America when they were 9 months old. So there, those which were that was a lot as well. So that's a whole other story over there that I'll get to in a minute. So those first 9 months, they were really, really challenging. I mean, extremely challenging because for 3 weeks they were in NICU. So there was the heartbreak of after the C-section,
Yes.
I stayed at the hospital for a couple days. Then you go home and you're like, all right, I'm just going to be coming here every day to visit my babies, breastfeed, all the things. It's all good.
Yes.
Part of the plan. But then by day 3 of going back and forth, I really broke down because it was like I was holding it together because I would see in NICU, you see kids with heart open surgeries and all kinds of
Oh,
crazy stuff. And here I am, I have 3 of them, not one, but they're healthy. They're just tiny, tiny little baby mice, you know, and they need to
yes.
grow and they need, to be fed and all of the things. So we're just waiting. It's just a waiting game, but it's
Mhm.
excruciating and it's like I have the right to not be happy with this and to feel
Yes.
pain. And also because it's like now they're out of me. So it's like I get to cry, I get to feel extremely
Yes.
sad that I don't have them at home. And this is my first experience with motherhood. And then get to reframe that, but I do get to sleep throughout the night. I do get to, recover from a C-section because it does hurt. And then to see them grow, to see them progress. And then whenever they come home. Then the other challenge happens of they were on a tight schedule at NICU. Every 3 hours they were eating. So that was what we were doing at home. And we had family members come. Eventually we hired a night nanny to help us with the feedings. Then I hired a sleep consultant that saved my life. And I still keep in touch with her. And I was like, you were the beginnings of the empowering me, of me understanding I need to
Oh,
empower myself because I'm the one that will train them to sleep, to understand the importance of sleep so that I can have a time for myself. So that was also really, really helpful is me seeking help, understanding I
mm,
myself, understanding that that would trickle into so many different things by me being able to say, tell me what to do and I'll do it and I'll be the one in control, but with support. So it was then that, and also because we were already planning to move to America. So it's like, I'm going to move, I'm going to be away from family. There's no way I can survive if they don't sleep.
yes.
So I'm so grateful that I did that. And then when we moved, my husband kind of started from scratch with his career because we had left everything behind when we moved to Brazil. So there was that. The financial piece was really hard. He was working a lot, which meant I was by myself with the kids a lot. And his dad was terminal with cancer too. So that was one of the reasons why we moved
Goodness.
back when we did, which was not an ideal scenario with 9 months old, right?
Yes.
Month olds. Um, But that's when I was like, I need to do something to empower myself, This day to day, it's excruciating. I mean, with one kid, but especially with
Yeah.
3, of just it doesn't end, the diaper changing, the
Yes.
feeding, the entertaining. I was just like the mindset was I need to connect with people. I need to feel useful in a different capacity. So that's when I was like, you know what? I'm going to start a business. I'm going to go into this to contribute financially, but also to be talking to other adults. At the time, it was with network marketing, which I feel like was a good way to ease off into it.
Yes.
But then a little bit after is when I realized I'm not meant to be somebody that has a boss. It's just not my reality. I need to create my own things. I need to dictate how it goes. And especially with triplets, I need the flexibility. I need to be able to say, hey, this is not working out. Let's reschedule because there's a fire to be put out over here. And from the beginning, it's been this idea of if I can do it, so can you. You know, I
Yes.
I, I didn't ask for this and now I'm handling it. But you may be experiencing something similar in terms of a life curveball. Like that's has always been my message. And
Yes.
I didn't realize it then, but now looking back,
Yeah.
it's when I decided I'm not going to do the languages thing anymore because I'm done relaying other people's messages. It's
Yes.
to share mine and to help people share theirs.
Yeah, I was just thinking that too. And like through excuse me, through motherhood, I have learned so much about myself and I've grown so much. And that I was talking to my daughters. They were like, they noticed patterns that I set throughout life. And they're like, we noticed you didn't ever speak negatively about yourself. We noticed you, were, like you wanted to do this career, and we're really proud of you, that type of thing. But it really allowed me to see that what I put out, they're seeing as well, but also what they're giving me is part of the process of growing and learning and having my own voice. And I think it's so important that we do have our own voice, that voice matters. And what you were saying about the linguistics and translating, your voice matters and you're allowing other people to speak into that
Yeah.
and to have that for themselves is huge. And so, and it really like leans into your human design chart too, which I think is so great. So, okay, everybody who's listening, all our friends, your human design, if you haven't heard about what it is, human design is like a personality test. It's like the Enneagram and Strength Finders, but people love human design 10 times more because it goes into 10 times more detail. And the first place that we start is with your human design type. So there's 5 human design types. And the type that you are, Marta, is you're a generator. And so you're this energizer bunny. You are a builder. You have this deep, sustainable life force energy, but this life force energy that is like a lighthouse when you're doing what you love. It just shines on everybody and they're attracted to it. Just like in the ocean, when someone sees a lighthouse, they're just going towards this beacon of light. They're drawn towards it because you show the way. So not only do you have the energy for yourself, but you have the energy for other people, for your clients, to help them to get to where they want to go as well. And so it's all about this. For generators, it's about responding to the thing that's lighting you up inside, just like a lighthouse. What's giving you a sparkly kind of energy. Your mantra is, I build what I love and my energy does the rest. So you can trust yourself when you're like, going to do this speaking event, or I'm, going to do this, hit this big goal. You're going to be able to do it because you have the energy behind you. And that is a gift. And that's not just something like, to take advantage of. That's something that was special and how you're born. And so have you noticed that this kind of sparkly energy as you're putting it towards the things that you love?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's very, very clear when it's something that I am passionate about, how it feels versus something that I'm just saying yes to out of obligation or because I don't feel, because I want to people please or whatever it may be. And it just drags me down. And that has been a good way of gauging too. Like, am I supposed to continue with this? Well, your inner self will tell you, your body, right, will respond for sure.
Yeah. And so with generators, because you have lots of energy, you can say yes to a lot of things. But when we say yes to so much, we also say no to other things that are actually more in alignment.
Right.
Has it been hard for you to say no to things out of this, because you're like, I guess I should do this, or responsible, like, how did you get to a point where you're like, hey, I am just going to say yes to the light up physical response of this versus having to feel like I'm responsible and Marta's the one who does it all?
Yeah, so I think it wasn't even about responsibility for me, to be
Yes.
honest. It was more about FOMO, Like, what if,
Yes.
something amazing comes out of this? I need to entertain this idea. I need to go down this route. And I did a lot of that for years and I think, it's come with maturity as well of realizing like it's okay for me to say not right now because opportunities, and I actually had a mentor that planted this seed for me. He said, opportunities are like a river. They're just going to keep coming. So if you miss this one for whatever reason, it's okay because it's going to come back around. We were just talking about this actually right before we recorded. Like, it's all right if you're open to receiving, right? Things are going
Yes.
to come around, and maybe it's not the right time, but the right the right thing at the wrong time is the wrong thing.
My goodness, I love that. The right thing at the wrong time is the wrong. Wait.
Yeah, the right
Yeah.
thing at the wrong time is the wrong thing.
Yes. Oh, it totally is. Well, and I feel that I think in the female founder space, we feel so much pressure to do it all.
Mhm.
We're moms,
Oh yeah,
we're like wives, whatever our roles are, plus our businesses that are scaling and have huge impact around the world. And to be able to like try and balance all that feels like a lot, but I feel like that is what balance is. It's not doing all the things and just trying to muscle through it. It's
yeah,
doing the dips and the ebbs and the flows, and all things are coming to us for
yeah,
our good
mhm,
all the time.
all the time.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
And so with your strategy as a generator, and this is really tapping into trusting your body with the yeses that feel sparkly, and releasing the no's. So releasing the no means releasing the guilt, releasing the pressure, releasing the, this is not for me right now, all of that. And it doesn't have to be part of the formula for
Right.
success just to say yes to everything. And
Mhm.
so really trusting yourself that your path is, and your answers are in here, not on LinkedIn, not on Instagram, they're coming from in here. And that is really your path to get to your goals.
Yes.
So, another part on your human design chart that stood out to me is human design is made up of centers, kind of like chakras, and chakras have different gifts. And one of your centers that you have a gift of all the time is your root center. So, it's down at the bottom, and your root center is all about drive. It gives you this extra oomph of energy too, because you're like, I see this mountain, I will crush it. I
Mhm.
will either blow it up or go around it. I will get through it no matter what? And so it's this consistent drive within your soul. Now, when we have consistent drive and when you have consistent energy, you put those two formulas together, right? That is a lot of like, we're going to do this all the time. You're going, 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 right?
Mhm.
So, What has been your journey with scheduling rest or having hobbies? Or I love your face. You're like, what
What?
is
What
that?
do you mean? What does that word mean?
Yes. Or time to yourself, reading a book, whatever. Yeah. Tell me
Yeah.
about that.
It's definitely been a process. So back to what you were saying, doing it all. It's interesting because my whole business was built on the generator energy, not always the healthy one. My LLC is called Mom Does It All. Like that's what I called
Oh,
it. That was my brand for the longest time until I shifted to what it is right now, which is the empowered woman and talking about the stage. But I switched it when I had the shift of, oh crap, I can't sustain this. I need
yes.
to, pace myself. And a lot of it has been taking time for movement because of this
Mhm.
energy that I have. Like that's one of the things that I've learned, in speaking with different mentors, doing different assessments. It always comes up. You need to have an output of some kind for this thing to go out somewhere. So for me, besides my work, which, tend to have workaholic tendencies, been
Yes.
working out, moving my body the last 2 years. I started training martial arts. So that has been amazing because
Wow.
it's hard for me. It has been hard for me to get in touch with my body. All the talks of tune in to yourself. What do you mean?
Yes.
I'll just do the next thing in front of me,
Yes.
like get centered, get present. It's that is like foreign concept. It has been for the longest time. So being present of if you're not present, you don't know what to do next. Martial arts has been huge for that, which I never expect. That
Wow.
was not on my bingo card, but it's become a huge part of my life. And singing music has been a great way as well to let this energy move through in a way that, I mean, there's always room for judgment, don't get me wrong, but in a way that feels more flowy, and
Mhm.
effortless than sometimes the business feels. So those things have been
Yes. Yeah, I love the martial arts. Like, I would have never guessed that. How did you well, in singing, I know you've done that a lot. That's part of sharing your voice. How because there's this over you brought up the overworker, which I think most female founders have. We're gonna crunch every hour, we're gonna knock out that to-do list. One of
Mhm.
my clients, she showed me her to-do list the other day. It was like this full page,
Oh my
like top to bottom, and I was like, okay, let's rework that, you know? And she has this generator energy. And so how did you get to did you just get so frustrated and try to do different things? Or how did you manage your mind when you're like, I'm going to go do
gosh.
this for myself, but I know I have like 500 million other things to do?
So what I started noticing was, especially after my kids started going to school, I had lots of time. Because the problem before
Oh,
was I
yes.
didn't have time. So I had to crunch everything in whatever little time I had.
Yeah.
Then I started going to school. I had all this freedom. I could go to events. I could do all these things. So instead of feeling super spacious, I actually started feeling more overwhelmed because I would fill every single second with things. And I started noticing how not good that was and how overwhelming that was. But I didn't know how to, when they say take a 5-minute break in between calls, go outside. Like those things were so hard for me to grasp. But the piece of before you work out or do something for yourself, I want to say that in the last 2 years, it really started working together that I hired a coach that really helped me with structure and my time. But at the same time, I made it a point to myself to prioritize that I would do as many classes, noon classes for martial arts as I could, which means it's a break in my day. So if I'm going to
Oh,
eat, I need to plan it out right before or after this class. And it takes me about 20 minutes to drive there. The class is an hour. And so I've been really, really proud of myself because that's a moment where I am completely unplugged. I can't be on my phone. I can't be on the
yes.
computer, clearly. And that's really hard because even if you go out to lunch with a friend or you do something, you're on your phone. Or me in that.
Yes.
I'm like, let me check this. Like I can't. It's impossible. You know,
Yes.
I needed that. That's what it took
Yeah.
for me. It's like you need to be completely here. Otherwise you can't do this. And then
Yes.
I started noticing, oh my gosh, that's amazing that my business is still growing and I'm not working as many hours because I dedicated to this. But I also know that it is growing because I'm not dedicating as many hours to the business. Just what's the next thing I can do here? Make a post, create an article. And it's like I can't because now I only have a few hours.
Yes.
That was the genius idea that came. Also, because of my kids, I enrolled them. It was just a company. It wasn't like I need to find something, it kind of found
Yes.
me and I chose
Yes.
to dedicate, and it's been a godsend for sure.
That's amazing, and I think, yes, it is about blocking off that time, and it's gonna be hard, right? Whenever we're doing something that we think, "Oh, I could use this time for so many other things," it is about creating space,
Yeah.
and that space takes time to show us that, yes, this is the right path. So I guess for all the listeners too, our friends, like, just keep going, you know? You're gonna feel this tug and pull, but just keep going. And so for the strategy for this, center is really the mantra really speaks about it. It says, "I am the source of my own momentum. I get to decide the pace." So
Mm,
that pressure from the center of go, 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 this extra oomph, you
yeah,
still are in charge of the pace. You
yeah.
still are in charge of that. And
Mhm.
so, one other center I wanted to share with you is your throat center. This is the communication. Now, this center is open. And so, this gift of communication goes in ebbs and flows, which I think is so interesting that you have chosen communication and visibility and speaking on stages as your business, because it shows that we can nurture gifts. Gifts don't always have to be on for us to take them and run with them. We can, with this gift of communication going in ebbs and flows, when you're in the room, that gift is sparked by the creativity and the inspiration from those around you. We're in podcasts, like the things that you say are sparked by that. But it also takes practice, you know? A lot of people get so in their head about speaking because they're like, "Oh, I don't know. I don't think I'm very good at this," you know? And so tell us, like, how did you have you been able to speak what's real and authentic on your soul and give yourself permission for it not to be perfect?
I think that repetition is a big thing for me. And that's why martial arts has been crazily helpful because it's like I've always wanted I've had a vision of several things in my life a lot or sooner than they actually came to be. It's almost, we all know girls mature faster or whatever. But to me, it's like I had this vision of who I wanted to be or where I wanted to go. Like, I mean, even with America, like it started so young that this is my path. I had no idea how it was going to happen. Like I had friends having like sports scholarships, doing their bachelor's degrees in America, and I was like, man, I wish my mom would never let me do that. As a teenager. So it took me getting married, but I did it. But you know what I'm saying? Like I've had this vision and that was always this has been a theme in my life where I see it beforehand and it's frustrating
Mhm.
because I'm like, I want now. But then
Yes.
it's like, but no, you're going to have to do lots of different things and do it repeatedly until you get to the point where you can be that person and do that thing. So that, and I think that shows up in one of my gates too, like the repetition, the
Yes.
determination, which when I started diving into human design, it makes so much sense. It's like, okay, so I just need to learn this lesson. Like it's clear. It's not going to happen immediately. Okay, great. So it's been it. It's just being okay with the fact that it's not going to be that great when you start, but it's going to get better. And what's been interesting is that throughout my life, whenever I have started something, there are things that I've been naturally good at right off the bat, and then I expect it to transfer to other areas, but it doesn't. But
Yes.
people will be like, you have a knack for this, so just keep going. And that's enough motivation for me to be like, okay, so you also see it. I'm not crazy. I'm just expecting it to be faster, you
Yes.
know? And that has been the case with like the business. It's like, oh my gosh, I
Yes.
have this vision. I know what I want to do ish.
Yes.
Why is it taking so long? And then people are like, you're
Yes.
amazing. You're amazing. And I'm like,
Yes.
okay, but why is it taking so long?
Yes. I know. I think we all want it to be faster. We all want it to be overnight, but also the journey is what makes it so powerful and helps us to do things. One of my mantras is like slow and steady.
Mm,
Slow and steady wins the race because it really does. That consistency, that keep trying, utilizing these gifts for our journey is about practicing. You know what? Even if we have the gift or the gift comes in ebbs and flows, we still have to practice with
yeah.
it. And this mantra for this center is really leans into the strategy again. It's my voice is most powerful when it's mine.
Mm,
And so your voice is the most powerful thing that you bring. And just allowing yourself to open up to that, feel the authenticity, the imperfections. That's what people crave. That's what they really, really want,
Yes.
are those stories.
That's
So in the ROI of peace, we talk a lot about all these metrics, right? Of indicators of sales, performance, all these indicators. But the ROI of peace is much different.
right.
Peace really allows us to have success with flow and ease and surrender, all these things that we're talking about. Peace is that source of that. So, which area of your life are you asking for more peace right now, personally, professionally? And what would bringing peace into that area actually look like in your daily life?
I think it's been learning to raise preteens at this point.
Yes.
It's so fun. Yeah, I was talking to a friend that has, I think, a 2 or 3-year-old, and she was like, "Oh, does it get better?" Blah blah blah, And I'm like, It's still hard. It's just in a different way." But I will say, I think it's more fun because they're people out now with thoughts. And what you shared was so cool too, that you said your kids were praising you for saying, I noticed this, that you did this. And that's my hope, is that when they're older, they're going to recognize certain things that right now don't really make sense because they don't have the life experience. But I digress. So it's tough because I have 2 boys and 1 girl. And the girl has completely different needs from the boys. And the boys are very different personality wise as well. So you're so unique, which I know there's a lesson there for me as well, to be like, born to the same parents, being raised together. Look at how different they are. Well, look at all of us from different backgrounds. Like, we're so, so, so unique in how we perceive reality and our contributions to the world. And I want to be supportive of their individuality, because it's so much easier to put all of them in a box and be like, oh, yeah, this is what we're doing right now. This is the sport that we're doing right now.
Yeah.
But they have different desires and inclinations, and I don't want to bulldoze over those. I want to help facilitate. So I think that's what, as they're actually changing schools in the fall, and, they're going to 5th grade, things start getting a little bit trickier with emotions, body changes, having tough conversations, dreading that too.
Yes.
I need
Yes.
peace.
Yes. Oh, totally. I feel like this is such a formula for growth, motherhood, and really being there for each of my kids. My husband and I have talked about like how each child has needed something different throughout their whole life at different points in their life, and how exhausting emotionally and physically it can be. And it is such a great vessel for seeing people for who they really are and what they really need, and not putting the pressure or the expectations that I think should be on, while still like, helping them to be good people,
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
be decent human beings. Raising decent human beings is amazing. So I love that. Well, Marta, I know everybody's going to want to get connected with you. All our friends listening want to be friends with you. So what's the best way to jump into your world?
Yes. So you can find me anywhere. I'm the only Marta Spirk there is, as far as I know. Thanks to my husband for the unique last name. Yeah, martaspirk.com is my website. You can learn more about my work. I also have my podcast, The Empowered Woman. I have a book out on Amazon, The Empowered Woman, and social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. I'm all over. And I also have music on Spotify, iTunes. So just look Marta Spirk and you will go down the rabbit hole.
Oh my gosh, amazing. That is so great. I love it. Well, friends, Marta, thank you so much for being on the show today. This has been so wonderful.
Love it. Thank you so much.
And friends, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being a part of the show. I look at the stats of listeners all over the world, and I really am so grateful to have you here. I'm so grateful we get to link arms together and be friends and have these conversations where we can all help each other to have peace and to in our journey. And make sure that if you haven't followed the show, you can do that real quick. Rate the show. It means everything to me. All right, we'll see you inside the next episode.